So each of our panelists will be giving a brief presentation, but as was promised this morning, I would like to just say a very few words on the PAVE and about the Alliance. The Alliance has been, is now a network of 39 organizations since November 2011. And this has been growing actually since the Alliance has been set up. So the policy agenda on volunteering in Europe was developed by the Alliance and by the working group members to create a more efficient and effective policy framework. And the idea and the objective of the document is to support and promote volunteering and volunteer-involving organizations in Europe. But also, the document has been developed to ensure a lasting legacy for the European Year of Volunteering by encouraging all stakeholders to address the shortcomings of current policies. And according to the European Year of Volunteering objectives, it addresses the stakeholder groups, which I will be developing, which I will be elaborating on a little bit later. The stakeholders, volunteering stakeholders, are people or formal, informal groups of people from the public or private sector who affect or can be affected by volunteering. That is to say, they have an interest in volunteering. For the purpose of the PAVE, these people and groups of people are understood to fall under the different stakeholder groups. We don't make direct recommendations to the media in the PAVE document, but we call on all stakeholders, and in particular civil society, to engage with the media, and the PAVE also gives specific recommendations concerning engagement with the media. Beneficiaries of volunteering are not given specific recommendations in the PAVE, but it does reflect the fact that the needs and interests of beneficiaries of volunteering should be a central feature of all volunteering policies and programs. Of course, the role of stakeholders is to work together to support and develop volunteering in Europe. I think it's very key that a very close collaboration is continued, especially in the sense and the way that we have been working together throughout the entire year. I think that the collaboration between institutions and civil society, private sector, and academia has borne its fruit, and PAVE is only one of the many results of that. And it's also very important to take coordinated action. The impact that we achieve through that will be much higher, and of course it will prevent duplication of efforts and resources invested. Volunteering promotion and implementation, due to the nature of volunteering, needs and requires an inclusive approach. And this will allow the capacity of volunteering to be maximized, especially concerning its contribution to social cohesion and inclusion. In establishing the European Year of Volunteering, the issuing of the EC communication on volunteering and the agreeing Council conclusions on volunteering and social policy and support, volunteering has been confirmed as an EU concern. The EYV Alliance believes that special actions at the EU level are needed in order to further support and follow up on the established policy frameworks. And you can see in the PAVE document that there is a definition of the EU institutions. They are the EU legislative bodies, which are the European Council, the Parliament, and the Commission, but also the consultative bodies play a very significant role in promoting and engaging in volunteering, which are, of course, the Economic and Social Committee and the Committee of the Regions. And then, of course, individual member state policies are of paramount importance, and I think that the PAVE not only calls upon EU institutions to take action, but also that action is needed at the member state level. In accordance with the principle of subsidiarity, member states should also ensure that volunteering policies and strategies create an environment that enables citizens to contribute to a better society through volunteering. As I said before, volunteering policy at the member state level should follow or should be in synergy with the overall policy framework that is developed by the European Union, and that's why there's a very important role for the stakeholders to work together, not only at the institutional level, but also at the member state level. At the national level as well as at the EU level, consultation and collaboration is also very, very important. And policies should aim to contribute positively to the development of respectful and cohesive communities. And also, this will bring an added value to the services provided by the state. The social partners, which we define as being trade unions and employers from any sector, be it profit, non-profit, public or private. Recommendations to these social partners imply action from members of both these subgroups. So there are direct recommendations to the social partners. The Alliance has identified several concrete actions, actually, that employers and trade unions can develop together. And that's something very, very important, that it's developed together in order to further support volunteers. Civil society is, of course, the stakeholder group with the closest direct contact with the volunteers themselves. Civil society organizations are the ones closest to the ground, the ones that are engaging the volunteers, motivating the volunteers, and also play a very important role in the recognition of the volunteers. It is, at the same time, still very important to work as civil society with other stakeholders to ensure that the volunteering perspective is taken into account. And of course, the role of civil society, as I mentioned, is to directly care and support the volunteers. The civil society organizations play a very, very important role, as I mentioned before. And again, civil society, the definition that we have developed as the Alliance is mentioned in the glossary. And of course, civil society plays a very, very key role in setting good practice examples for all other stakeholders and partners. In the PAVE, in section 1, in the subsections colored yellow, and in other sections such as 3 and 4, I think it's very important to ensure that there is an enabling and facilitating environment for volunteering demands. It's important to make sure that secure and sustainable funding for volunteering infrastructure, and especially volunteer-involving organizations, is there and that it's available. It requires understanding, coherent support and development from all stakeholders, but especially from policymakers. And it needs a combination of support mechanisms and or appropriate organizational structures, which can be further strengthened by suitable legal frameworks and clearly identified rights and responsibilities for volunteers and volunteering. And now I would like to give the floor to Ms. Christina Rigman, who was the co-chair of the Volunteering Infrastructure Working Group, who will give a little bit more details. Yes.